It begins with a moment so raw, so unexpectedly emotional, that even seasoned reality TV fans will feel the weight of it. When Brooke Hogan stepped back onto television for the upcoming season of Rock the Block on HGTV, she wasn't just returning to the world she once grew up in. She was walking straight into the middle of a storm of grief, healing, rediscovery, and identity. What viewers will see on screen is a renovation competition set in Las Vegas. But what's happening underneath is a young woman rebuilding more than a home. She's rebuilding herself after the death of her father, the legendary wrestler Hulk Hogan, whose passing triggered a landslide of emotions that would ultimately spark one of the most vulnerable chapters of her life. For many, this new chapter might look like just another TV comeback. But for Brooke, saying yes to Rock the Block came at the most complicated intersection of her adulthood, one defined by estrangement, loyalty, heartbreak, new motherhood, and the endless effort to step out of a family legacy that has followed her since she was 15. When the call came inviting her to join Season 7 of the hit series, her life was in a state of total upheaval. She had distanced herself from her family. She had asked to be removed from her father's will, not because of the woman he married, not because of some public feud, but because of a messy, emotional chapter few people ever knew the truth about. Growing up, Brooke Hogan and her father shared a bond that millions saw on their television screens. But behind the scenes, their relationship complicated in ways that would shape her future. She was her father's confidant, hearing the things that weighed on his heart, acting as a safe place where he could be vulnerable. She promised him she'd always stand by him, his fall guy, his support system, no matter what. But then everything shifted. Her father, despite sharing his worries and his fears with her, suddenly chose a different direction. He wanted to live his own life. He wanted separation. And even though she loved him fiercely, the distance formed anyway. Around the same time, she became pregnant with twins, a blessing, a shock, and a seismic life change that forced her to mature faster than ever before. While all of this unfolded, Brooke was living far from the spotlight of Los Angeles. She had moved to Nashville, started waiting tables, and worked to build a life completely independent from fame, television, or her family name. There was no glamour, no safety net, and certainly no legacy money to rely on. Brooke Hogan, once the star of Hogan Knows Best and a familiar face on reality TV, was now hustling from scratch, determined to make it on her own terms. She launched a design business with no investors, no family support, and no shortcuts. And despite the uphill battle, her company grew. It became something she could be proud of, something that didn't need the shadow of her father's fame to exist. Then came the greatest heartbreak of all. Her father died. Suddenly, the woman who had spent years carving independence from that larger-than-life legacy found herself grieving a man she still loved deeply, even though they were estranged. His passing reopened wounds she hadn't fully processed and brought unanswered questions flooding back. And just as the grief began settling in, those who never knew the full story started speaking for her online, accusing her of chasing fame because her father had died. They didn't know that the Rock the Block contract had been signed long before his passing. They didn't know that she didn't return to TV to capitalize on anything. They didn't know her truth at all. But this season of Rock the Block would change that. When Brooke Hogan stepped onto the construction site in Las Vegas, paired with the well-known HGTV contractor and renovation expert Scott McGillivray, she didn't know emotional landmines were waiting for her around every corner. She also didn't know that her partner, who originally underestimated her because of everything he had heard online, would become the person who helped her unlock emotions she had buried for months. From day one, Scott McGillivray admitted he had the wrong idea about her. He had heard the internet's vicious opinions. Nepo baby, failed music star, reality TV burnout, can't design, can't sing, can't decorate. But the woman standing beside him wasn't any of those things. She wasn't a stereotype. She wasn't a punchline. She wasn't an extension of a family brand. She was a licensed real estate professional, a seasoned designer with 8 years of experience, a business owner, a wife, a mother, and a survivor of Hollywood's harshest spotlight. And as the competition unfolded, through flooring choices, wall demolition, and late-night design meetings, Scott realized just how wrong the internet had been about her. What truly broke her open emotionally, though, was their first challenge win. In a moment she didn't expect, Brooke found herself crying, really crying on camera. Not because of pressure, not for drama, not for TV, but because something about winning a design competition connected to the life she had built from the ground up. It was validating. It was healing. It was a reminder that even in the darkest seasons of her life, she had found strength. And Scott, her unexpected partner, became something close to a therapist in that moment. He talked her through losing her father. He helped her unpack the guilt, the confusion, the unresolved love of an estranged relationship that ended too soon. In that tiny space of tears and drywall dust, Brooke Hogan allowed herself to be seen, not as a character, not as a celebrity kid, but as a real woman grieving and growing at the same time. That vulnerability follows her throughout the season. The home renovation becomes a metaphor, knocking down walls, rebuilding foundations, seeing beauty in things that look damaged, and with each swing of a hammer, Brooke reclaims a part of herself. Off camera, she is juggling another massive responsibility, motherhood. Her twins, Oliver and Molly, named in part after her beloved Pomeranian and her father's middle name, are turning 1 this January. At just 10 months old, they weigh as much as toddlers and carry the same powerful genetics that run through the Hogan line. They are loud, joyful, heavy-handed, and full of personality. Raising them is beautiful, but exhausting. Brooke jokes about her back hurting, about taking old person medicine, about juggling babies with demolition tools. But beneath the humor is a woman fully aware that motherhood is the role that keeps her grounded. Working on Rock the Block while raising twins pushes her to physical and emotional limits she didn't know she had. She learns how to use a sawzall, how to break through drywall, how to demolish walls with her bare hands, and how to let go of fear and insecurity in real time. Scott challenges her constantly, pushing her past boundaries she didn't even know were holding her back. And as she rises to each challenge, she begins to see a version of herself she lost somewhere along the way. Through the power tools, the tears, the competition, and the growing friendship with Scott McGillivray, Brooke Hogan experiences something profound. People finally see her. Not the edited version, not the tabloid version, not the reality show persona she was forced into as a teenager. This time, the world sees the woman she actually is, one who fights, works, loves, hurts, and rebuilds like anyone else. Her return to television isn't about fame, it isn't about legacy, it isn't even about money. It's about healing from a life lived under pressure. It's about redefining her identity after grief. It's about proving to herself that she is more than her surname. And it's about stepping back into a world she once ran from, but this time on her own terms, with honesty, strength, motherhood, and newfound confidence. As this new season of Rock the Block approaches, viewers won't just watch house renovations unfold. They will watch a transformation, one built from heartbreak, independence, faith, and resilience. In Las Vegas, with cameras rolling and sawdust flying, Brooke Hogan learns that sometimes you rebuild a house to rebuild your own life. And for the first time in a very long time, she's ready to let the world see who she truly is.